I have interpreted the entire Sermon on the Plain to plain language, actually, interactive. My name is Dan Paulson. I'm going to read the entire interpretation first. It just takes a couple of minutes. It's very short. And then I'm going to start on this video number 2 in the series. I'll post a link to the first one below showing how I got here to this interpretation process. I'll let you know, too, that it's still growing, that there's things in the background here that I'm finding that I can demonstrate to the people who can see it, but that there's more still that I don't understand. Let's go ahead. Again, this is my interpretation of the Sermon on the Plain. The Son of Man is the one who addresses and works for inner peace. It is an aspect of self, the called portion of our conscious self. This is our consciousness on our inward journey. We need to let go of what we are mentally grasping. We need to forgive anything we harbor within us that hurts. We must work to heal any time we need to and take every opportunity to grow. We will heal what is in the way of us being able to live through our pure inner child. Blessed of you who have let go of judgments, you will live in inner peace. Woe to you who maintain many judgments. You're getting your resultant life. When your desire for truth burns in you with passion, the answers will emerge. Woe to you who already know all. You will long for inner peace. Blessed are you who face your hidden fears to heal them. You will feel joy. Woe to you who live while ignoring your inner judgments. You will feel bad. Blessed are you when undergoing the inner turmoil of facing the issues that hurt your life as well as the life of those around you. Take heart, you will emerge better for it and feel good. This is how it works for anyone at any time on this inward path. It's not good when you're popular as a religious teacher. That's how leaders are treated who don't know the true solo or warrior inward mental path. Remember to interpret this. It's cryptic. Love and be good to yourself. That's what I'm doing. This is my interpretation. Bless and love our past hurtful experiences and the mistreatments we carry. Stop fighting your inner self. Sacrifice all that covers you. Rid all that you try to hide. Give attention to everything that takes your attention away from the moment. Learn to self-observe and take mental action, not simply experiencing the cycles of confusion while being unaware of that. Do not allow possessions to rule your emotional life experience. Do to your inner self what you would have your inner self make you feel. If you love, do good, or give with expectations of a return, what good is that for you? The people you may not like are that way too. We're no different than them. But love that which divides you as if coming from the higher awareness, free of the bondage of fear and emotional turmoil. Learn to love the pain that you currently hate. Live doing good to yourself and give freely of yourself with no expectations. The reward will be great and you will become healed. Be kind to all of yourself, your inner being, as your higher awareness is. That part of us is kind to all. You do the same. There's a part we have where we're detached to get there. Let go of judgments. They simply return to us. There's a cycle. Cease giving them emotional strength by accepting them instead of hating them. Cause and effect drives everything that manifests in our physical experience. To change the effect, we must change the cause. That is, by forgiving the ought that we harbor. However, that must be done. The process will grow as you proceed. Always watch karma. Cause and effect is always in place, which means we will see cycles. Learn to see those cycles and interrupt them. Anyone using this to follow the physical path, or is teaching that to others, isn't getting the nested teaching. We need guides to point the way, but once we have made the journey, we become guides. We can't help anyone else heal if we haven't taken the steps ourselves. We must first take the inward trip ourselves, then we can point the way to others. Observe everything that emerges from you that is a problem to you and your life. If something emerges that makes you feel bad, then there is a nested thought process that resides within you, which is residing in conflict with your desires. Whatever we have inside of us will emerge. That is what we have become. When a person digs down to the very foundation of their being, they live life with ease. If they don't get to their foundation, they will wallow in their memories. Okay, now the first video covered the first section and how I interpret it. In this video, I'm going to do the second section, and it's going to become detailed as to how I got from what it says in the Bible to what I have written down here, how it becomes an interactive step. Okay, in the last video, we left off right here, so I'm going to start in the area that says love your enemies. I will remind everyone that what is written here, everything that is in black and red font, if you've ever looked at a Bible with a red letter edition, that's what that is. That's how I copied and pasted it in here. So everything that is black, a black font and red, is going to be biblical verse, and the red is Jesus' responses, his cryptic teaching. The blue is all of the notes that have been added in. The ones like this, love your enemies, the big bold ones, those were added in by the translator. The ones that are just standard font with the rest of it, these are all my notes in how I interpret. So that's the 4 colors we see here and what they belong to. The first one, but I say to you who are listening. And I wrote, this is a reminder, this is a secret teaching to those with the right hearing. So I translate that to remember to interpret this. That's what that means. But I say to you who are listening. That would be like, but let him with ears to hear. Those are, there's a point where we're told Jesus spoke to them in parables, and that everything that Jesus says is a cryptic verse. It needs to be interpreted. And every once in a while we get these in there, these little things to jog your memory. Remember, we're passing these around word of mouth 2,000 years ago. And it's right in with the material is the reminder to keep interpreting this. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Love your enemies and do good to those who hate you. Okay, the enemies are within. Learn to love what we hate about ourselves. Find peace with what we harbor in our emotional memory. Or that's any memory, but the emotional state of it. Actually, we learn to embody love is what we need to do. We may still have people we can't be around, but we do not hold hate for them. This is how we are to heal our inner hurt. It is that which in this verbiage, the enemies who hate us. Oh, yeah, it is. In this verse, enemies who hate us, right up here, good to those who hate you, enemies hate you. Okay, there we go. We are here, this is how we are to heal our inner hurt. It is that which in this verse, enemy who hate us. That's what we need to heal. Yeah, the enemies who hate us, okay. We explode from stored issues, or we may not explode. We just may feel really bad, depressed, funky, incomplete, something. We just don't feel good. We have stored issues left emotionally unresolved. We hate that about us when we do that. We give it power when we fight it. We are its enemy and we hate it. It's our enemy. So that is what it is, since it is being created with thought energy and stored electrochemically as our brain wires to those experiences, and we make agreements or we make judgments. We harbor. That's a better way to say that. Borrow from Don Miguel Ruiz, and maybe not everybody's read that. So, harbor just judgments, I guess. Yeah, the memories and the emotional state of them. We judge it with emotion, then remember it that way, hating it. That's the seed, the cause for later effect. We anchor our ship to. These are all metaphoric representations of that idea. To change the energy of what's inside of us, we have to change the energy that we create it with. This is emotional. This is about forgiving the ought because we carry it and we unknowingly make it who we are. We become what we hate by hating it, and the worse we hate it, the bigger it is. Discuss love in others, more below. Love, I want to say this because I struggle with this. Sometimes you're like, how can I love everybody? There's a lot of evil. There's a lot of cruelty. There's a lot of things out there. And the thing is that you might be told to love everyone, but that doesn't mean you have to hang out with them or be their neighbor. There are people that have values that are so off from yours that it would be, we cannot coexist. No, we don't feel the same way. We don't think the same way. I don't want to get wrapped up in that, and I don't want to hate. I don't want to harbor something that's going to hurt me. So the love for that person is not about that person. It's about making sure that I'm not harboring hate, because that's going to dictate my flow in life. But loving them does not mean that you have to go hang out with them, let them get in your face, give you a bunch of crap, or do stuff like that. Love is not that in this case. Love is many possible things. In this case, it is harboring. It is lacking harboring hatred or anger or something like that. That's the real issue. That's what affects my life. It really isn't about the other person. But when you hate other people because you don't like them, that's a problem. Because it's going to be a part of your makeup, that's going to be a part of what we're going to see as a part of what is in your eye, that is going to continue to make life unfold in the same manner repetitively. So that's why we let go of the hatred and all that stuff, why we have to love. But that doesn't mean you have to go join them in their rallies. No, not that. I think something we have to think about, it's almost seemed cliche to me at some point in understanding things about, when you embody love or your complete love, that you're looking for that. Love conquers all. And you think, boy, what does that? Not until you turn it inward into the psyche do you go, okay, that's how it works. I'm trying to conquer this world, not that world. And love is what I need to do in order to do that. And when I can resolve things in my mind to the point that it is completely full of love, there's no room for anything else right there. That's why we go for love. It's not about loving other people, or it's about being completely detached and appreciative of life and existence for all. Okay, in this case, I've reduced it to love and be good to yourself after all of that. Let's go read it again. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Those are the enemies are within. They become what we create them as. So I changed that to love and be good to yourself. Yeah. When that happens, those things you hate, if you love them, they cease to hate, or they cease to exist as hate. Now that's difficult. This is not a complete process here. We would need to talk about more. How do you forgive someone who raped or molested or something like that? There's a lot of issues that are much deeper than, it's not as easy as just saying, I'm going to let that go. There's ways we have to think and mental exercises we have to undertake in order to become free of those things. But ultimately, this is the goal, to love and be good to yourself in all ways. Those things that happen are not you and they're not your fault. You have to not carry them personally. We have to separate from things that happened. We are not them. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. All right. At the memory level teaching and what we carry in our minds, this is about us again. Someone in our past has cursed, degraded, belittled, demeaned, and or mistreated us. Or we've done that to somebody else and we carry shame, judgment. That is a judgment. That is something that we're harboring that is not resolved. All of those things that are not resolved are the problem. That's what is in the way. Forgive the ought against your brother. Found elsewhere in the New Testament, you know that, you've heard that, and adds to the previous verse. At the time we are ready to begin our inward mental spiritual path of self-healing, the first curses and mistreatments we began to take on are from long ago. The reason we still hurt from them is because we haven't let them go, or rather, we still harbor negative emotions around them, emotions we gave it. And you know what? Along life, they will get bigger and bigger. You notice that? Look back on when it happened till now. It got bigger. These are anything that take us away from feeling happiness and inner peace. So I've changed that from blessed are those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you, to bless and love our past hurtful experiences and the mistreatments we carry. We're not trying to bless and love the other person. If we have blessed and loved ourselves, the other person will be blessed and loved as a byproduct. Focus on yourself, not the other person. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. Okay, in the physical world experience, how does this pan out? Anger and abuse you may be experiencing won't simply stop if you're passive. Ask any bullied kid. No, of course we don't want to fight, but we need to remove ourselves from the conflict. This verse 2 only works out if played out in the mind using our memories as our enemy. We invert the verse from looking outward to looking inward, like all of them. We try to do that. Then interpret the analogous verbiage to its application in our mental hierarchy. We must stop fighting ourselves. What this means is when we are hiding away that pile of hurt in the background, life continues to emerge through that mass of what we think is hidden, the memories and the emotions that we don't like. We only hide it from others, or try to anyway. It acts out, doesn't it? It affects who, what, and what we are. It affects the quality of the human being that we are. And if we're not acting out, we're still sitting there being a slug. It hurts us, and we hide it away, hating it more and more, giving it that much more power as we continue to hold it in our contempt. We are creating it further by feeding it the emotional intensity to work with. We don't know this. This memory mass has various names we can recognize. Mitote from the Toltecs, pain body, Eckhart Tolle. The shadow, C.G. Jung. Mote in the eye, Jesus. It's the mass of memories you exist through until you realize that's what you're doing and work to get outside of that. That's what we want to do, stop living through that. We had to become that in order to become human, but now we're trying to rise farther above that. I changed that to stop fighting your inner self. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. Stop fighting when stuff comes up. That's the only way we can make that verse work. If you stop fighting your inner self will stop acting out. It's an inner energy process. I put a note down here below that this does not tell us how to stop fighting our inner self, only that we should. We need to know how this is done, but within a complete body of work. Like this sermon, it offers a path out in the most basic way. We must do a lot of mental analysis on these verses. We think them through the imagination. This is when the Tao, the way, the understanding, the pathway becomes real, if comparing it to other religions with this at the core. Okay, and then it goes on, and from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. All right, garments are analogs used to represent covering ourselves. You know, in the physical world, you want to be covered. In the spiritual world, you do not. Naked is the desired thing in one, but not the other. There's an inversion there of the way that analog sounds when you shift it from outward to the physical world or inward to the spiritual world. That entire meaning flips. This means hiding things we don't feel good about. We have inner fears and conflict, not being okay with it, and keeping it down in the basement, that place deep in the mind that we hate, and we try to block. If I go on, day 7 that I talk about, the Sabbath in this material, naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden. Yeah, that's when we started life. That was our happy place at day 7, wasn't it? We were naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden. After first sin, exposure to life, is when we got covered. Yeah, now we have to start covering up our fear. Noah got naked in his tent on his new wine after the flood. That was a good thing. However, his sons covered him up and it went bad again. Noah was good, though. We are Noah if on the inner journey. He represents our conscious or son of man, called self. We are uncovered after we heal. Naked is good. It means I no longer hide anything and I'm good. Later on, that changed to clean or pure white garments, but naked means the mass of memory is resolved. Isn't Jesus and a naked boy somewhere? Yeah, it's all in there. Sacrifice all that covers you, rid all that you try to hide. And from everyone who takes away your coat, that's covering you, do not withhold even your shirt. Take off everything. This is not physical, it's spiritual. Rid all that you hide. Have it so that when you're done, you don't harbor anything that people could hold over you. It's all out there. It's all resolved. You go, who cares? You stop living through it. All right, give to everyone who asks of you. This is not remotely practical in the physical world. We maintain the hierarchy in the mind and do this. We are the you who is being asked. Give to everyone who asks you. Yeah, that we're being asked. But this is inside the mind and fits there. Everyone who asks is everything that emerges from within, which takes your attention from the moment and pulls you into the past. An example is, say that I am happy in the moment, but something in my day-to-day experience triggers a memory and it starts to act out. This is analogous to someone asking of me. It's the past haunting me. It is taking from me. When we are aware of but don't do anything to resolve it, we are not giving to it. Giving to it would be mourning it for healing. This is saying everyone or everything. Yeah. We are experiencing cycles. Learn to observe them and interrupt them. You're on the hero's journey. You're on the path of the true warrior, the spiritual warrior who will know themselves. Okay, give to everyone who asks you. Everything that acts out of you, resolve it. That's what's happening. What is taking your attention? I've changed this to give attention to everything that takes your attention away from the moment. Learn to self-observe and take mental action, not simply experiencing and living through the cycles. We're detaching from living through the physical and living from a higher self, a higher awareness. And I've covered this in other videos, but let's just talk about that higher awareness for a second again for people that are like just getting on board with this. There's a part of us, if you wake up, for example, at 3 or 4 in the morning and you're tossing and turning and something is haunting you, you'll notice that there's this mental dialogue going on over time where you're just haunted about what you have to resolve. But as time goes on, there's a part of you that knows you got to let it go and get to sleep. And you hear this voice coming in saying, hey, let it go. And from that part of our mind right there, you don't feel the emotion. If you stop and look at that for a minute, you'll go, this is a part of who and what I am right here. And it's not experiencing the hurt. That's it right there. That's the higher self. We can get there throughout the day at various times. Anytime you're living in the moment, you're living through the higher self. If you're just having fun and enjoying life, you're living through, you're having a conscious experience with no filters in the way that is taking you off course. The higher self, though, is that part of us that we get to in our own imagination. It's an awareness that we can get to where we perceive things without the emotion. Practice getting there. A good drill might be to just pretend you're out in outer space looking at Earth from a great distance, that you're not a part of it. Look down there and see a mass of people doing things and understand that you're in that mass of people. Try to separate yourself from that physical experience down there. That's the higher awareness. All right, next we have, and if anyone takes away what is yours, do not ask for it back again. What have I got here? I have spent more time with this verse than any other. I cannot play it out in the psyche. It doesn't resolve through thought experiment. This will require an implication to resolve. We're going to have to imply something. That'll become clear as we move along. Anyone is the psyche, as we know by now. All are analogs for our judged qualities that live in our minds and tear us up. Rent-free as one modern version goes. So what could we say that these issues take from us? Our honor, trust, and things that we do want. We do want them back. So it doesn't work out as a mentally interactive interpretation that takes us towards enlightenment. What we do want are earlier qualities in place. Our earliest qualities before those qualities became corrupted. I'll have to rephrase that. We do want to get back to that before we lost them in experiencing life. Yeah. In this case, I'm going to cross-compare this body of work with other spiritual teachings from antiquity to see what may be missing from this. We are seeking enlightenment or inner peace, the kingdom of heaven within. I'm going to present this from Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, verse 3. If you overvalue possessions, people begin to steal. The Buddha, Dhammapada, verse 62. These sons belong to me, and this wealth belongs to me. With such thoughts, a fool is tormented. There's many more examples. This is vintage material. The deepest core teacher is like a mendicant monk. They denounce all worldly possessions and wander among people, teaching this to anyone who wanted to hear it. Buddha wandered after his enlightenment for the rest of his life, as the story goes, being cared for physically by the community while he was caring for their spirituality. Anyone who knows the story of Jesus will recognize the same thing. He preached to those who would listen while he had to be fed and housed by friends during his trek. Contrast with a man who wanted to fill his storehouse and died along the way. He looked for wealth, never stopping to recognize the true inner wealth, a wealth that, if found spiritually or mentally, would lead to the better life one is seeking. As within, so without. We can imply that if we value things in life, that we get attached to them, and it creates angst as we need to guard and care for your prize, whatever it may be to each person. Remember lay yourself up treasures in heaven where moth and dust do not corrupt, not on earth. Yeah, that's what we're seeing right here is a kind of a similar verse to that. If your possessions are so valuable that in your mind that would stress you to lose it, or you know what, it's existential suffering. You own something and you like it so much that you suffer for its care daily. You focus on it, you obsess over it, then find a way to let that go. We have to let that go. Living life clinging to things is not happiness. It is unfulfilled desire, among other things. I have an example here. I once worked with someone. We probably all know someone like this. I once worked with someone who was obsessed with cars, a car guy. He called himself. He was referred to himself as a car guy. He owned a newer model Mustang, red-colored, with expensive aftermarket wheels and tires. He had conniptions over that car. He did. He parked it crossways in two spaces to keep people away from it, which made people mad who needed a place to park, and the whole mental cycle comes into play. People had left him notes and parked right next to him anyway. He would talk about that, complaining how people are so rude. He couldn't see what he was doing. He loved that car to the point that he allowed it to dictate his emotions. Joy when driving and fear when it's parked, which was most of the time. Yeah, existential suffering. Worrying about tomorrow what you will wear instead of just being in the moment. An impermanent machine dictated his emotions. This is just an example, and we need to apply it to our own life, actually. What do we possess that takes our attention away from the joy of the moment? What is it we are looking for or suffer for existentially? Things that are going to happen anyway, but we suffer about it. The car's going to age, it's going to rust, it's going to fall apart anyway. I'm uncertain if this verse interprets exactly as that. This doesn't mean that we can't have things. I've got a nice car that I've had for 15 years now. It's got 250,000 miles on it. It's in great shape, minus a few paint nicks and fading it's here and there. It takes me to the mountains where I want to go. It's utilitarian and not what dictates my joy. So I like having a car. I don't want to be a mendicant monk and walk around on foot with no possessions. I do want to have things. However, the idea is not to focus on possessions, but to focus on life itself. That's a pervasive teaching in spiritual practices. So the car I own is utilitarian. It's not something that I suffer for. Yeah. There's a difference. You can have possessions. How do you hold the possessions? How do you value them? In the Nicomachean Ethics, we learned that the greatest of all good, that's Aristotle, happiness or good life, eudaimonia, a good quality of life is what we seek. We seek many things to make us happy, but if we're happy, we only live in the joy of the moment. We don't seek to understand or question why we are happy, we just are. So my best effort on this one at this time in my understanding is, do not allow your possessions to rule your emotions. If anyone takes away what is yours, do not ask for it back again. Do not allow your possessions to rule your emotions. Can we turn the corner on what I said up here, that there was, we're going to have to imply some things to these verses sometimes. Let me grab another one. This is Proverbs 30, verses 7 through 9. 2 things I ask of you, do not deny them to me before I die. Remove far from me falsehood and lying. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food I need, lest I be full and deny you and say, who is the Lord? Or I be poor and steal and profane the name of my God. Okay, the God is the higher self. What the request here is to have enough in life that you're not going hungry, but you're not concerned about wealth. You're not living in a wealth modality. You're living in some other modality, but you don't have to work. You're not struggling. Nobody's going to steal from you. You don't have to steal. It's like a balance. That's kind of a mendicant monk thing, though, isn't it? It's old material. We might modify it a bit for our use today. There may be more to it, but that is a common teaching in all spiritual teachings, to not allow personal possessions to rule our lives. We can have them. It's the relationship we have with them. Mental relationship. Okay, 31. Do unto others as you would have them do to you. Cause and effect. Karma is in this one too. Actually, all of life is karma. Everything that we live in is because of something driving it. This isn't 100% about other people, though, is it? Periodically, we'll run into angry or blinded people acting out who will not reciprocate in kind. They're acting out their own worldview. Of course, this is usually true anyway. We all do that. It has a deeper core meaning. I treat my hurt like I want to be treated by it. As long as I ignore it and hate it, it acts out and hates me equally. If I feel shame from it, it brings shame when it comes to the table. With the measure I hate my past will be the measure that it continues to hurt me. We are not aware of this at first. It is how those memories get so big. We have created them in our memories and give them their power unbeknownst to us. As time goes on and we remember those and we think about them, and they get stronger and stronger as we ponder them. They grow in the direction that we give them emotion. So we have to change the emotion that we look at them with in order to stop them from growing and to reverse the cycle. So, for it to work out, do unto others as you would have them do to you, interprets as do to your inner self what you would have your inner self make you feel. Yeah, we create ourselves through our thoughts. All right, in this upcoming verse, observe the if-then statements. I'll break it apart for this video. The first part is unusual. Jesus is setting up his own teaching, which starts at verse 35. This is a physical part. All right, I'll read through it. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you expect to receive payment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to regain as much again. All right, this first part starts out with the physical world. It won't play out in the psyche. When we are sanctimonious and we harbor enemies in the world, but we think we're better than others, we are not. We are just like each other with this kind of thinking. Two sides of one conflict. They feed each other and grow bigger. Yeah. If you think you're good because you take care of yours, so you think you're better than others, they're taking care of theirs too. They love their families and all that. We're all the same here. Okay, let's read this one again and then my interpretation. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those whom you expect to receive payment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. And I've changed that to, if you love, do good, or give with expectations of a return, what good is that for you? The people you don't like are that way too. We're no different than them. We've got to rise above being like other people. You get done with this, like we talked about earlier. When you're full of love, nothing else gets in. Your life's okay. 35. Instead, love your enemies, do good and lend, expecting nothing in return, despairing of no one. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for he himself is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Okay, it turns inward here from the first section up here where he's telling you comparison to the sinners. He said, instead, love your enemies, do good and lend. All that goes on there. So It turns inward here. First, establish where everything goes in a mental hierarchy. Father is the higher awareness, the place we get to in our minds where we can feel detached from our life experiences. We feel free from our emotional bondages in this mind state. Enemies are the emotional bondage. Most High is the same as Father in this verse. It is a mental space above all the physical. Practice getting there. It is kind to the ungrateful and wicked because it is not connected to the feelings or the emotions. The ungrateful and wicked are memories and their emotional state. That is what acts out of us. Okay, so the lesson here is going to be common. The power of our fears is the power we give them. There is shame, anger, or whatever, which came from our judged physical experience and went into electrochemical storage. They emerge on those same terms. They also, however, because they're stored there, dictate the flow of our life in the background when we're not paying attention. That's why we keep getting triggered. We fit somewhere. We align someplace. If we don't like it, we have to cease to align. We can't change what is there. We have to change the way we fit. They emerge on those same terms. We have to change the way we view them in order to heal. Love is opposite of all negative emotions. It's like pouring water on the fire. But it's purposeful mental shift. It's a purposeful mental shift by the seeker, which must be done. Doing good for others helps us heal ourselves. If you can help someone over their problems, you can overcome your own similar problem much easier. Actually, this would be like working together in some cases, or helping someone needy in other cases. It's all about helping others without expectations of a return for it. This hints to a karmic teaching. Rewards are not in the moment, so much as they're in the flow of life. Yeah, it's not tit for tat. It's a life experience, a eudaimonia, a general overall quality of life. Not a trade-off this for that. In this end, it is telling me, my consciousness, my son of man called self, to be merciful with myself as my higher being is, which can only mean detached from. We have to let go of what hurts us. Be merciful just as your Father is merciful. Children of the Most High are new representations of self. The memories went from enemy to children of Most High. Those healed aspects of us we used to hide away. Blah, blah, blah. This goes on, doesn't it? You have to think it through. Instead, love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for He Himself is kind and to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful as your Father is merciful. I've changed to love the pain you hate. Live doing good for yourself and give freely of yourself with no expectations. The reward will be great, and you will become healed. Be kind to all of yourself. Yeah, all parts of you, as your higher awareness is. He is kind, or that is kind to all, the higher awareness. You do the same. We need to have our conscious working, thinking with the higher self, bringing us detached from the emotions as opposed to living through the emotions, which makes them grow stronger and we get further and further stuck. We've got to turn and let go of what we're hanging on to. Okay. 37. Do not judge and you will not be judged. Do not condemn and you will not be condemned. Forgive and you will be forgiven. Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. Does this work well in the physical world? People who do not judge others due to their own spiritual growth and understanding are nevertheless judged by others for not being on their side. Most people in groups have sides. If that's the case, then they've already judged others for not being with them. Humans are naturally tribal creatures, though the tribes are as diverse as a street gang or a congregation. We hang out with people that share our beliefs and fears. Birds of a feather flock together. Okay, let's move on to define the analogs and get this verse done. Judge. When we judge something, what did it say? Do not judge and you will not be judged. When we're judging something, we're naming it, deciding, making an agreement. When we view the physical world, we decide and judge based on what we see and how we feel about it. Then that becomes a part of our mass of memories. We have judged what we have been through in life, and it is now part of us. As cause and effect, we can imply it as a cycle of pain. As long as we hold a judgment, the same emotional judgment will continue to find us. Condemning is giving a judgment an emotional value. I not only saw or experienced that, but I judged that, and now it is a part of me. Forgiving is only marginally effective in real life, but in the psyche it's 100%. If I forgive myself my hurt and pain, and this includes people, and you have really forgiven, then you have been forgiven, but it's by yourself. We can't hold ourselves in contempt. We will never be free from ourselves otherwise. The good measure running over is a bubbling spring of feeling good. The more we do this, the process, the bigger it grows. The more we heal, the faster we can get it and work at it more naturally. We start out struggling with this inner healing as we are so habituated to the way we've been. We're trying to change the habits. But as we gain experience and confidence, it becomes more natural and quicker to work through. All right, let me just read it through here. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. Let go of judgments. They simply return to us. Cease giving them emotional strength by accepting them instead. Cause and effect is in play. That's what drives everything. To change the effect, change the cause. Forgive the ought that you harbor, however that must be done. The process will grow as you proceed. Always watch karma. That's everything that's happening. Your life is always karma. Its cause and effect is always in place. We will see cycles. Anytime we're living through past processes, we're in karma. That's all the time. He also told them a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into the pit? Okay, this is spiritual blindness. Blindness means all of us when living through our judged life experiences. This is prior to knowing that. This is just living life blind and bouncing off of everything that happens, becoming products of what we view and what we experience in life. We now know to turn inward to the mental experience at this point. Anyone looking outward with the material is considered blind. This is an inward path. This lets us know not to follow teachers and preachers and believers in general. This is a personal path. No one can lead anyone. No one can lead anyone. The I is the mind's eye, or basically the accumulation of memories that we live through, our pile of judgments. But being blind in this case means not yet being called. This tells us not to follow blind people who look outward, which implies it is personal and mental instead. We can use the material two directions, outward looking or inward looking. The narrow gate is inward. Only the solitary will enter there. Outward contains many ways to destruction, but they're all outward. That's the religious carrier itself. How diverse Christianity is. Many thousands of denominations. That's many paths leading outward, isn't it? They're not looking inward. Can a blind person lead a blind person? Will they not both fall into a pit? A disciple is not above the teacher, but every disciple who is fully qualified will be like the teacher. We're all the same. Seeker is not above the guru, but every seeker who learns the path will be able to help others as if they were now the guru. But these guys are the real teachers, not like the blind. They don't lead. The warrior's path is for each person alone. They can only point the way. Okay, so if you're listening to somebody else tell you what the material means, you're not on course. If you're looking at somebody pointing to you saying, if you do this, then that will happen, and you decide to do it, you're on course. If you're doing the right thing and it's healing, if it's actually healing you. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Okay, the speck is small and the log is big. I is our personal memory bundle that we live through. These become clogged analogously through unchecked and unresolved life experiences. This tells us we can't help others resolve even little issues while we are full of judgments that we are living through. First, we heal ourselves, then we easily see the cause and effect others are living through. 42. Or how can you say to your neighbor, friend, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself do not see the log in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. It goes with the last verse. This simply states that we cannot guide others if we haven't gone any place ourselves. We cannot help others turn inward if we haven't done so ourselves. You cannot guide anyone to face their fears when you haven't done your own. So the last four together right here. Anyone using this to follow the path or teaching of others isn't getting the nested teaching. We need guides to point the way, but once we have made the journey, we become guides. We can't help anyone else heal if we haven't taken the steps ourselves. We must first take the inward trip ourselves, then we can point the way to others. Okay, a tree and its fruit, verse 43. No good tree bears bad fruit, nor again does a bad tree bear good fruit. For each tree is known by its own fruit. For people do not gather figs from thorns, nor do they pick grapes from a bramble bush. The good person out of the good treasure of the heart produces good, and the evil person out of the evil treasure produces evil. For it is out of the abundance of the heart that the mouth speaks. Okay, is more on cause and effect. In this verse style, we become the items in some way. In this case, for example, we are the tree. Previously, we were the wineskin in a different verse. Fruit in this verse represents what physically manifests in the form of our response at any time, my physical actions. But having the thought manifest in one's mind with negative emotion and yet not acting out in the physical is still coming to fruition. It's still fruiting. If I sit and feel angry about something in my past and I'm not acting out in any way, and in fact can be just sitting alone someplace while my mind is haunted by those past issues, that is manifesting or fruiting. They are in active memory, causing my conscious experience to relive something that I hate. A good tree never bears bad fruit equals a sound person never acts out or feels bad. A sound person, what is that? A pure person, somebody who's let go of everything. But a tree that does not bear good fruit would sound like, but a bad tree does not bear good fruit. An unaware person does not produce good fruit. Yeah, that's a bit absolute, I think. It sounds absolute until we restructure this into the mental hierarchy. So then we are not actually the tree. The tree is a triggering source. Let's look at it this way. Long ago, an event happened, which is the core experience of any of our given hurt. Something happened long ago, early on. Remember that? Something happened there. We have many. Just pick one big one for now. We can all probably look to our past to find some shame, some hurt. Look for that experience. Now, that event, when it occurred and how it was judged, is called the planted seed. It will grow. Remember, the terms are analogs for something in the psyche. We're actually familiar with the sounds of this one. We might think of our own example of this kind of a thing. You could say something like, a coworker that's crabby or something. You could say something like, boy, they sure could stand to pull some weeds from their garden. These are metaphoric things we say that are, and the words are analogs. We know what that means. It means, it's another way of saying they sure could stand to get rid of some of the bats in their belfry, which we actually know means they have unresolved issues acting out. We can see people acting out aggressively at benign things that don't affect them, and yet we know they harbor issues along those lines. I doth think they protest too much coming into play. The verse, it works very well at this level, but there's a deeper level we interact with. They are our seeds, and what comes from them is what they are. They are fruiting from the nature of what the issue is, and these are our judgments. If it's something about finance or molestation, anything that hurts you, whatever it is, That is the nature of the emotional nature of that is what is going to act out. That is what is going to continue to re-experience the emotional feel. We have assigned it that value. That's why it feels that way. We hold it that way. We need to learn to self-observe when we are in the process of starting to ramp up our feelings. They are cycling in the energy of their nature. We know by what emerges from us, what surfaces to the mental experience comes from our stored memories within us. Like electrochemical viruses triggering without our permission, they take control of us, but we unknowingly created them. We created them with our conscious mind. We have to use our higher self with our conscious mind working in concert to rectify them. Okay, let me see what we have here. No good tree bears bad fruit, nor again does a bad tree bear good fruit, for each tree is known by its own fruit. For people do not gather figs from thorns, nor do they pick grapes from a bramble bush. The good person out of the good treasure of their heart produces good, and the evil person out of the evil treasure produces evil, for it is out of the abundance of their heart that the mouth speaks. I've changed to, observe everything that emerges from you that is a problem to your life. If something emerges that makes you feel bad, then there is a nested thought process that resides within you in conflict with your desires. Whatever we have inside of us will emerge. This is what we have become. Does that sound right? Observe everything that emerges from you that is a problem to your life. No good tree bears bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Look at the fruits that you're producing. Are they good or are they bad? For each tree is known by its own fruit. Yeah, it's getting us there. Observe everything that emerges from that is a problem in your life. That's the fruit. That's the manifested fruit. What's coming into fruition that's causing you to have an emotional experience. Okay, the two foundations. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I tell you? I will show you what someone is like who comes to me, hears my words and acts on them. That one is like a man building a house who dug deeply and laid the foundation on rock. When the flood arose, the river burst against the house but could not shake it because it had been built well, founded on the rock. But the one who hears and does not act is like a man who built his house on ground without a foundation. When the river burst against it, it quickly collapsed, and great was the ruin of that house. Okay, I think rock should be left in. I'm dead against these translators trying to clean up the verbiage. They're taking stuff out. There's repeating numbers and names and words, certain amounts of time in here that are critical. And when they start modifying it, they dump it. They're dumping the code. Rock should be left in. It references a strong foundation, which may help to get a fixed meaning to rocks as analog used in other Abrahamic teachings. How about the stones that are going to burn up Thomas's friends in the Gospel of Thomas? Does that mean the same thing? The stone, the solid nature. We'll see. If you read through the verse, you'll see the house is a component. We are being told if we follow these instructions, we will learn what that gets us. We are the house. That represents our entire being, all parts of us at once, our higher awareness, our consciousness, our subconscious, and all the things that we have stored inside through past thought and perception. How we perceive the memory gives it its true life. We are the house. What kind of house is it? In this case, it's very simple. We need to be established on a firm foundation, but rock seems to signify very grounded. But who gets there? What did he say here? Who dug deeply? So down here, the one who digs very deeply. And how deep till we get to the bottom? Where the things are solid again. The further you dig, the more solid you become. At some point, you can not be mentally toppled by life experiences anymore, but those who don't dig deep to their own mental construct, house, memory bundle, will see the ruin of that inner peace. This is not the destruction of, this is the destruction of your perception of life. So let me read it again. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I tell you? I will show you what someone is like who comes to me, hears my word, and acts on them. That one is like a man building a house who dug deeply and laid the foundation on rock. When a flood rose and the river burst against that house, but could not shake it because it had been built well. But the one who hears and does not act is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. When the river burst against it, it quickly collapsed, and great was the ruin of that house. I have interpreted that to mean, when a person digs deep down to the very foundation of their being, they live life with ease. If they don't get to the foundation, they will wallow in their memories. Okay, and in the beginning, I read them all from start to finish from the 2 videos, and I'll leave it at that on this one. They got into an hour, but that's not bad. This is the entire book of Luke. I caught this in editing. I make errors sometimes, just make the corrections. You know what I mean sometimes. In this case, I didn't mean the book of Luke. I meant the Sermon on the Plain, the entire Sermon on the Plain. That's a little guru chunk right there. How do I heal myself? Here it is. How short and sweet do you want it? Interpreted in a way that if I was looking at this, I would go through it and go, boy, I need to reword this a little bit. That one's not clear. I've got a little bit more here. This is not complete, but I think it's very complete. And I think it does a good job in showing what is in the background, but also how to process the interpretation in a manner that it reveals the interactive step that is for self-healing. If it doesn't fit there, it has to be something else. You've got to work it through. But this is very prevalent in antiquity. In this case, it looks like, if you were to compare it with my video with the Gospel of Thomas, the final interpretation, you would say, yep, they're teaching the same things here. The Buddha, the Lao Tzu interpretations, you'd say, yep, it's all about this mental process and that we became products of what we continue to hang on to. And in order to change our flow in life, we have to change the quality of what is up there, period. But that it's hard, it's difficult. We see repeated issues that we need to interact with, not just let them go. Observe them, self-observe, pay attention, see them happening and go, uh-oh, I'm playing that out again. Stop doing that. We have to break habits. It's going to be hard because we're going to automatically continue to fall back into that because it is so habituated. It's going to take a while to change the habituation. That happens through understanding, awareness, observing, letting the ego go, forgiving ourselves, finding out that all the things that we are products of a big mass of people, humanity emerging, that we emerged in a physical place, we became what we became, but now we're at a point where we would like to rise above that physical experience that we have become through life, just judging life blindly, not knowing any different. That's a normal procedure. We wire to there's cause and effect. Everything we see out there is the final manifestation of something. When you're judging to that, you're judging not based on what is driving it, but based on the final result. It's like moving forward in life while looking backwards. We're becoming products of something we're seeing the final manifestation of it. We need to step out of that, or we're just caught up in it. We're a part of that process. We need to understand that there is a cause at a deeper level that we're all being driven with. And when you realize that and step into that realm and begin to rectify the things that are up here, life changes and flows differently. This is like the rudders. You want to change your course, you have to change the way these steer. And it's emotional based. Yeah, how's that for fun? Okay, I'm going to end this video because it went so long. I hope it was fun and interesting. If you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.